Tristan is day-to-day with a low body injury.
And Sprong is still day-to-day?
Sprong is day-to-day, but he skated this morning on his own, so he's back on the ice, which is encouraging.
Is this, having guys, with minor injuries at this time of year, obviously you come to expect it, but does it make it kind of hard to finalize a roster? We've got a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah, obviously we've got to think through just the business side of the game with the salary cap and roster sizes and waivers and all of those things. But Jim has a pretty good handle on it all, and he advises us in trying to help him make the best decisions for our group.
Some of those guys up in the balcony are going to be earning their paychecks this week. Is that what you're saying?
That's what they know. They know it well.
Just how are the coaches trying to, you have 4 days before the opener on Thursday. Just how are you trying to utilize these 2 days of practice to make sure you guys are in game shape for the
We're just trying to continue to get better each and every day. We're trying to work on some of the areas of our game that maybe we haven't had an opportunity to pay enough attention to. We spent a lot of time, for example, today on the 5-on-3 power play. We showed them 5-on-3 video in our meeting before we went on the ice. So we're just trying to make sure that we do our due diligence in preparing our guys for all of the situations that they're going to be faced with, and we're trying to continue to refine and get better in the ones that we have addressed. So it's an important week for us. We're going to try to maximize every opportunity to get better in all the respective areas of our game.
You mentioned last year that you threw on a lot of rationalizations. Is there a different vibe this year to start the season?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure I can articulate what that is, but I do feel it. I think guys are excited about being back. I think they're hungry. I think they're glad that the games are going to start meaning something, and that we've crossed the first hurdle of that training camp part of the season. It's always a necessary evil, but one that players and coaches are excited to move on to the next step, and that's the regular season. So, but I definitely think there's a little bit of a different vibe this year.
Zach Aston-Reese, I know nothing's guaranteed for him as far as an NHL roster spot, but how much more comfortable is he with the NHL surroundings and environment compared to maybe when he first came up last year?
Well, I think he's very comfortable, and the reason is because he's been here. In the experience that he's gone through last year, he played a lot of games for us last year. He played in the playoffs for us. He was a big part of the team, and so he'll continue to be a big part of the team. Zach is still a young player. He's a really good player, and we're continuing to work with him in some of the areas of his game where we think we can help him. But I think he's very comfortable with our locker room, and there's no real surprises because he's been through a lot of it.
Do you think the depth that you guys have on D and sort of the emergence of Ricola especially will allow you to sort of, like when you have D that have these nagging injuries, you might be able to let them, they might be less likely to play through them? Like an example would be the Schultz situation right now. If that happened in November, you might be inclined to say, you know what, Schultz, you take a couple days off.
Well, we certainly want to put the best roster on the ice every game that we can, but to have the depth that we have, gives us some latitude in making decisions when players are in, there are some circumstances where players are in vulnerable situations, and we have to make decisions on whether they play or whether they don't. And if that's what you're asking, I think when we have, capable NHL caliber players that we can put in the lineup, it makes those decisions a little bit easier.
Are you surprised at how quickly Juuso has adapted to things here? His coach, Sam Kapanen, said it might take him a little while, but to the naked eye, it seems like it's been pretty quick for him.
I don't think I'm surprised because I wasn't sure. I haven't seen enough of his game up until this point to have any sort of an assessment or an observation. I obviously listened to our scouts that have watched him play in the Finnish Elite League. All of those guys are really excited about his game and the type of game that he plays, how it's a fit with our team and how we're trying to play. So I don't want to say I'm surprised because I really was going into this with an open mind to see what kind of a player Yuso really is. I will say, based on experience, that usually when players go from an international size ice surface, that there usually is a bit of an adjustment process for obvious reasons. You know, things happen a lot quicker on the smaller ice, but also when you're playing, you know, when you go from any league in the world to the NHL has the best players in the world. So, you know, things happen faster. Players think the game quicker, windows of opportunity open and close faster. So for all those reasons, things happen a lot quicker on a North American ice surface. So, but Yuso has handled it extremely well. And, you know, the game in Columbus was the closest thing to an NHL game as far as the rosters on both teams. And I thought he had a really strong game.
I think every coach in the league at this time of the year says, I love my depth, I'm going to roll 4 lines. Can you convince me that you mean it? You've said it.
Yeah, well, we've been a team historically that has played 4 lines. And, you know, that's been part of, we believe that's part of the reason for some of the success that we've enjoyed over the last 3 years. And so, you know, we believe we have the makings of 4 lines that we think we can play. But now we've got to go out and earn it. And so, you know, what I will tell you is I'll convince you that the coaching staff is going to try to make the best decisions to help us win every night. Hopefully that'll involve 4 lines.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think at the beginning of last year, maybe you didn't as much.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. And part of it was because we were trying to win games. And so that's you know, that's what it boils down to. You know, each and every night, you know, the points are so critically important with the parity in the league. You know, as I've said to our guys last year and the year before, you know, you can't win the Stanley Cup in October and November, but you can lose it if you're not careful. And we want to make sure that we make decisions for the short term, but also have the long term and the big picture in mind. And that's the balance as a coaching staff. That's one of our challenges, to try to make the best decisions that we can to help our team in both of those scenarios. What I will say is that I think this year, going into training camp and coming out of training camp, you know, we have a good feeling with the depth that we have. We believe that we can, that we have capable guys that can play and help us win. And we're going to try our best to make the best decisions so that our team can stay competitive both in the short term and the long term.